Entrepreneurially Thinking is a presentation of BioSTL and CET, Center for Emerging Technologies, with raregem-productions, changing the way you view new ventures, including you on the pathway to success with your business in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. Here's your hosts, Cheryl and Christy. Now let's get thinking entrepreneurially.
Welcome back to the Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. Our goal is to imbue your entrepreneurial mindset and create pathways for business success in the St. Louis marketplace and beyond. I'm Christy-Maxfield.
And I'm Dr. Cheryl-Watkins-Moore with BioSTL's Inclusion Initiative here in St. Louis. Imbue, I love it.
I know. Our producer, Jade, she's got the thesaurus.
Yes.
We're rocking the words, people. And can you believe what else we're rocking? We're rocking season 7.
Yay.
We were just saying, we started out, it was like, we've been doing this 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing this almost 2 years.
Oh my God, talking to you guys, 2 years.
Having fun. So we're glad that you're still with us, discovering great new episodes,
yes.
Awesome guests, and our listenership keeps growing. So
yes.
We're thrilled that you are sharing this with the friends you have and the folks you know who will connect with us too.
And keep sharing.
Yes, because we are making an impact and so are the folks who support us. So we want to take a moment to acknowledge and thank our founding sponsors, CET and BioSTL, for their continued support.
Yes.
As always, we remind you can check out our website and their websites to stay up to date on what's going on, whether it's the Vision Symposium in October, Square One that starts on September 10th, the Startup Toolkit, Global STL. There's always something going on that you can plug into. Yes. And Cheryl's all over the place. Like, we do the podcast, but you can hear her talk all over the place, too. So you can get on her mailing list and make sure that you're staying up to date on where she is and what she's doing. So please share this out. Invite your friends to subscribe. You can find us wherever you find your favorite podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Spreaker, Facebook, LinkedIn, or anywhere else on the internets.
Yes, on the internet.
Well, I just like saying it that way because it's funny.
We want to be wherever you guys are. Well, today I am so excited. There's some interesting statistics out here.
You always find interesting statistics.
Yes. Data-driven woman.
I know.
One Huffington Post article cited the creative sector is one of the fastest growing sectors globally. I didn't know that.
Me neither.
In the last 10 years, exports in this sector almost doubled to over $60 billion. And
I don't ever think of the creative sector as an export sector. So that's fascinating to me.
Estimates value the sector at 7% of the world's GDP and forecast 14% growth per year. That's amazing.
That is.
So all over the world, creative industries are clearly a key driver of the digital economy in the world. Exports of creative goods have increased from about $56 billion in 1996 to, get this, $136 billion in 2005, or about 140% of the Chinese economy.
Well, that's like way bigger now too, and I don't know what the exponential growth on that would be, but 2018 to 2005, that's a big difference.
And this Chinese economy was responsible for much of the growth.
Yes.
So today, we're going to meet a visionary who sensed that to build community, we must connect and enrich its culture. She formed an international network that unites and celebrates creatives of color in their various disciplines and passions. Hers is a vision to, I love this, speak truth, illuminate the images of color, and spark challenging conversations with art. That is amazing.
Yes.
So, All Black Creatives founder, Danielle Elise, joins us when we come back. So, as we always say, stay listening.
BioSTL is a proud founding sponsor of this Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast, and we want you to know all about the great things they are up to. BioSTL Fundamentals is an entrepreneur development program targeted to founders wishing to start a company in the bioscience space, including therapeutic products, diagnostic products, medical devices, animal and crop agriculture products, and research tools. Participants earn resources by achieving specific coaching goals. You can learn more about BioSTL Fundamentals by visiting biostl.org. And for your renewed and continuing support, BioSTL, we say thank you.
I'm Danielle Elise of All Black Creatives from St. Louis. Entrepreneurially thinking to me means always staying on my toes, being open and creative and willing to take risks and willing to have interesting partnerships that I may not have thought of before, and not to be afraid of failure.
Joining us today is Danielle Elise, founder and curator of All Black Creatives. She's passionate about relationships, creativity, and community. She's been drawn to entrepreneurship as a way to express her creativity and build community with the people she loves and admires. As you alluded to earlier, Cheryl, the All Black Creatives empowers and draws together creatives of color from around the world. They create physical manifestations of the digital communities that they've built as a way to celebrate and strengthen all creatives of color. Danielle, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yes.
Thanks for having me, you guys.
Yes.
So you come from an entrepreneurial family.
Yes.
Our listeners may be familiar with Darren Jackson, your husband, and the work that he's done in our community with John Alexander and Creo.
Which you should have heard our podcast because we had them on.
Yes. So by the time you're hearing this, you will have already caught up on that, and then you can get the whole family together and feel inspired. So having come from essentially this, or created this family unit that is entrepreneurial, do you actually come from an entrepreneurial family as well? Like your family of origin?
Do.
Yeah? Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I totally do.
Talk to us about that.
So I'm from St. Louis. My family is from St. Louis halfway. So my mom's actually from Trinidad. She moved to the States for school.
Okay.
My dad's from Kirkwood.
Okay.
Not Trinidad.
It's not Trinidad. I like to say half Caribbean, half Kirkwood, but you know. So my parents actually homeschooled me and all of my siblings.
Wow.
How many?
There are 7 of us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your mom or your dad homeschooled you?
Yeah, my mom did.
Oh my God, she needs a medal.
Yeah,
and where do you fall in the pecking order?
I'm the middle child.
Okay.
Woo.
So there's that.
You've had to.
Let me tell you something. Whenever school starts, I'm the first one at the school dropping
please.
somebody off.
My phone is full of back to school pictures,
my
which are
God.
both poignant, and yet at the behind there's a parent going, yes.
That is me. So homeschooling, I give your
she
mom
did not
a
get
medal.
that. She never got that.
She never got the yes.
drop off moment.
I love that, the drop off.
But yeah, my parents really fostered that, like with us, that, you know, that creative, you know, start something up, entrepreneurial spirit in us. We started a million, you know, businesses, from like creating cool baskets and selling them to like, I mean, just all kinds of stuff whenever we wanted to do something cool or like, you know, create. My mom was always like, hey, you can totally do this, and here's how you do it. And she's a techie person, so she back then it would be like, let's make a flyer for you, and she'd like show us how to do it and all that kind of stuff. And and then my dad owns his own business. So,
and what was his business?
He owned a construction company.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So you got some of the what is that, right brain stuff, and then the left brain stuff going on.
And the real world experience of living in an entrepreneurial home and knowing the challenges, the freedoms, but the challenges as well that come
go with
that.
it. Yeah.
So you've continued that on through.
Yeah.
So I started to ask you before, and ask you now. How did you and Darren meet? It was this. I know he's had he once described it to me of he used college when he needed college for certain things.
Right.
So I was going to say, did you meet at college? But I'm like, he probably was there making sure he could apply for a fellowship to be able to go do something creative. So I don't know if he was meeting and greeting in the midst of all that.
So you were homeschooled all the way through high school?
All the way through high school, and then I put myself through my first couple college courses too.
Okay.
And then just kind of transferred the credit over.
To?
I transferred it over to Merrimack. I graduated when I was 16 from high school.
So accelerated.
I was like, how do I fill my time? So I took my first couple college courses and went through, and then
that's great.
Yeah,
that is amazing. Yeah,
but I actually met Darren at my very first job at the City Museum. I worked at the circus, and there's like a piano on the 3rd floor, and he was playing the piano and was hanging out with my brother or whatever. and I met him on my lunch break, and he was like, hey, you should come over here and like sing with me. And I was like, I don't sing in public. So that's
who are you?
Right. That's kind of how we met, and then just kind of joined the same friend group.
That is some, oh my
And the rest is a marriage and a baby later.
And a little cutie.
Insane.
A little cutie patootie.
Oh my God, he's adorable.
Yes.
So tell us more about All Black Creatives.
Yes.
This obviously is not your first entrepreneurial venture because you were making flyers back in the day, right? So is there a backstory? What have you been working on? How did this come to be?
Yeah.
We want to hear it all.
Yeah. Okay. So there's totally a backstory. All Black Creatives was actually something that Darren and I started together when we still lived in California. It was like my first time living away from home, really.
Okay.
Away from St. Louis. And I was beginning to stretch myself and kind of try to find community and find, who I was as a person standing alone. And at that time in LA, like we were both in the music scene a lot and, recording and going to different studios and stuff like that. But I had a hard time connecting with other Black creatives and like finding them and, that kind of thing initially. And then I also worked at a coffee shop as a barista and would have customers come in who were like the worst, like the actual worst, and would say things like I had one customer who would try to sneak photos of me, like whenever I had my hair in Bantu knots, because he thought it like looked cool or whatever. Anyway, that was a really
strange folks.
That was a really insane story. Then another guy who came in at like 5 a.m. I'm making his coffee, and he's like, "Where are you from?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm from St. Louis." And he's like, "No, but I can tell that you're just like exotic because I've had sex with women from all over the world." And I was like, "So this conversation is over. You can take your
exotic self.
Right. You can leave like right now."
Gosh.
Anyway, so
you even shocked our recording engineer.
People are shocking. That's
especially when
shocking.
they think they have the liberty to say and do things because you're on the other side of a counter, right?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So all of that was like as I'm trying to figure out, okay, who am I as like a Black woman and this creative, and I'm doing all these kinds of things, and I wanted to create a community that I needed as well. I wanted to have a community of other people of color who were creative, who were like in this field, who could relate to me, who could we could find each other and connect. And so that's how All Black Creative started digitally in LA, and we met and connected with a bunch of different people. And
so what, you just put it out there on social media, or you had a website, and then what people
literally Instagram, and we called it microblogging. We did through Instagram and then also Twitter at the time.
Okay.
And that's
how long ago was this, Danielle?
Oh, that was 2014.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not so long ago.
Yeah, not so long ago. But yeah, that's kind of how we started out with All Black Creatives. And
so it's almost like what they call it, crowdsourcing, right? You got these individuals to come on your platform to...
Yeah, kind of. So the way we started it initially was like, these are some really cool people who are doing awesome art around in LA. And so we would find out a little bit about them either by like writing them in their inbox and be like, "Hey, we love what you do. Like, can we share about you?" And then, sharing about them on the platform. And that helped us to build our
community.
Yeah. Our network socially. Then whenever we moved back to St. Louis to have Soul,
their son,
our son, we had, focused on other things and kind of taken a break. And then me as a new mom, like after we had him, I was like, I need to do things. Like, where are the things to be doing currently right now?
With people. Speak English.
With the humans. And so I was like, "Hey, Darren, I want to restart, All Black Creatives and start it again locally." And he was like, "You should totally do that." And so I kind of jumped on it as my creative project of that time and just like started finding people who I know and love here in St. Louis and like shouting them out, connecting with them. I think our first post was actually Hop Shop.
Oh, cool.
We love them. And it just exploded for us in that way. Like we continued to build the community and partnered with Tech Artista. They were like, "Hey, we'd love to, support you guys. And, we'd love to sponsor this dinner." And so we did our first All Black Creatives dinner and then
very cool.
The subsequent art show. And just like on and on.
See, what I love about it, that's why I was asking the question, where you crowdsource, because sometimes people just go on a social platform and just connect that way. You were doing it in community and bringing people to your platform. So you were connecting real time with people as well as through social media piece here. So you had a Black Creatives dinner here. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So it was.
How did that come about?
Being in St. Louis, I wanted to have a physical thing. I'm like, I'm from here. I know so many people. Like, what do we as creatives need right now? And I just wanted to create a space to literally celebrate creatives of color. And so I was talking to Tech Artista. We really, really like them. And Darren was like, hey, do you guys know All Black Creatives and like what we're doing? And they saw it and they were like, this is amazing. Like,
like for everybody that doesn't know Tech Artista here.
It's one of our co-working spaces here in St. Louis.
Yep. And so they were like, hey, how can we support? And we talked. They were like, we have this dinner that we do sometimes, but it's through, there's an artist in St. Louis, his name's Ito, and so he does this whole mural called Supper Club, and they were like, we'd love to give this one to you guys, and like you can run with it and, you know, do whatever you want with it. And so, we partnered with them. They built it out. They were like, we want to have more creatives of color in our space. You know, we want to be a place that continues to welcome creatives of color. And so we kind of built a partnership in that way where they get to love on and serve, you know, people of color as a way to also enrich their culture.
So what came out of that dinner? I mean, what were some of the things that you guys found interesting moving forward with?
I would say, so firstly, we had the dinner scheduled, and then we had to postpone it because it was the same day as the Stockley verdict came out.
Another big event here in St. Louis, if you're listening from afar, that really for the last year and a half, 2 years, has shaped our activist community and mobilized our activist community around racial justice particularly within our justice system.
Yeah, and so that, you know, we were just like biting our nails and like waiting to see what was going to happen. And then the Stockley verdict came out. We all went home. I sent out 1 million emails, and I was like, I'll see you on the street later
we took
tonight.
To the street,
you know?
we did.
So we all met each other there. And so that was postponed, and that ended up being really amazing way to strengthen the community still, even so that whenever we had the dinner, it was like a coming home type of thing for everybody. And from that, I'd say one of my favorite things that happened was artists in the city meeting each other for the first time and having always admired each other's work.
That's great.
Yeah, that was one of the most exciting things to me, because I'm like, okay, I love your work and I love your work, and you both have interacted online, but somehow have never like been in the same place at the same time.
Which is actually hard in St. Louis because we are so small and fairly well connected. But I think that face-to-face piece is becoming increasingly meaningful in such a digital world that you're never going to not have digital, right?
Yeah.
But the face-to-face component. But before we go into our break, I'm just curious to, what is it, we could keep throwing around this word creative, and you had just said artist. We haven't actually been throwing that word around all that much, right? What does it mean for you to be a creative? And is that different than being an artist, or are they synonymous?
I don't think they're synonymous.
Okay.
I'll say that because I have, like, I would say I'm a creative. I fluctuate between being an artist. I can't draw. I can't paint. I can't, like, I'm not a maker, you know, but I think a creative is just someone who wants to make something that's bigger than themselves. And, you know, it's someone who literally makes something out of either an idea that they have, something they want to see in the world. You know, like a creative, we've featured people who are doctors, artists, lawyers. You know, if you're putting something from yourself into something else, you're a creative. I don't know, like you're, you know,
Awesome.
I was going to say, it's just what we talk about with innovation.
Yes. It's an important way of reframing the use of language to be more inclusive of different ways of thinking and being in the world. Because like you, I can't draw, and there's lots of things that are not within the traditional artist definition that doesn't really fit me. But I aspire to be a creative.
You create in different ways.
That's awesome.
That is.
We're going to come right back and continue our conversation.
CET, the Center for Emerging Technologies, is a proud founding sponsor of this Entrepreneurially Thinking podcast. We want you to know all about the great things they are up to. Square One offers 2 training options. Square One Ignite, a 4-week program created to help founders quick start their business model validation process. Or Square One Bootcamp, an in-depth 10-week, 50-hour program that combines formal instruction with hands-on learning, networking, and mentoring. To learn more about Square One Bootcamp or Square One Ignite, visit CETSTL.com. And for your renewed and continuing support, CET, we say thank you.
Hello, I'm James Buchanan, and thinking like an entrepreneur to me means that there is an innate understanding of what it takes to run a business, to support a business, and to be a part of a community that's sustainable.
We are back and talking with Danielle Elise, and I wanted to go back to one of the things you said about how when working with Tech Artista, it was really about the opportunity not only for you to all convene and meet each other in person and celebrate each other, but doing it in their space meant that they could potentially have more Black creatives working in their space. Yeah. And we hear that a lot in St. Louis. I'm sure other communities do this too, where it's like, we want to work with more people of color. Where are they? How do we find them? Can you introduce me to your friends? Because you'll have the magic key to all the Black people in the community.
And what's funny is they're in the Black community.
Go to the Black community, you will meet
right
people
across
of color.
the street.
But that being said, that's a thing, right? And at the same time, I'll be the first to admit that when I hear of all Black creatives, and I think of clients who are doing websites or people who need photo shoots or things that kind of traditionally I would think fall into that creative space, I do want to connect with you and be like, where's your website and how do I put out an RFP and how do I make sure everybody in your network knows what's going on? So does the platform actually allow you to do that? Is that part of it? Is it not part of it?
So it's actually kind of funny to me because, like, on a larger scale, it always bewildered me how, like, a commercial would make it out and then everyone watching it is like, were there no people of color in the room to help you do I mean, totally. Arch So White. I mean, lots of things all that were just like so painful where I'm like,
really, there was no one in the room.
And the thing is that perhaps there wasn't, like,
exactly,
and that's
the problem with not being inclusive,
and that is
the problem.
That's such a glaring sore because there are so many creatives of color. There are so many, like, even in St. Louis. So, like, you're saying, that's something I'd love to do. Like, I'd love to work with, like, people like that. I don't think that's as difficult as it seems. I think the thing that might be the most difficult is going into a space where you don't necessarily feel powerful or like you have like a lot of answers or that you're comfortable with, and it's something that people of color do every day, all the time, like, and so, like, we find those resources that we need even if we have to go to a place that's like, okay, I'm gonna go here and, like, it's gonna be awkward, somebody's gonna comment on this, somebody's gonna say this thing, like, but do I need to be in the space to get something that I need? Like, is it going to enrich me, type of thing? Yeah. And so I think when companies and businesses are trying to walk into a new space, like, it takes one, like, listening to people of color. Like, it takes, the humility of, okay, I need to be comfortable enough to, as I'm walking into this space, to be corrected, to be humble, to be open, and
not to be arrogant and thinking you have all the answers.
Yeah, I think that's like,
and not
really
to
important.
Be like, aren't you glad I'm here?
Yeah, right. Also that, and so I think that, and, like, that's probably one of the most daunting things before people ever even try is just the thought of, I'm gonna be asking, I'm needy of someone else in this space, and I think that that's an important distinction. I think it's an important place to be. But I also think once you have the correct mindset, like, I mean, it's going to be easy to find such amazing like talent because we're everywhere.
You have to be intentional. You have to reach outside of your networks that you're comfortable with.
And so what I hear you saying is that even if I feel like I don't know even where to show up, right? I'm willing to be vulnerable. I'm willing to be out of my depth. right? Or in, like you said, just uncomfortable, like something's going to be awkward.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's how Black people feel all the time.
All the time.
Absolutely. Right. Right. So, okay.
Right.
Put the shoe on the other foot, right? And experience it. So part of it is being willing to put yourself out there, and then starting wherever you know to start.
Yeah.
Right. And saying, I don't know how to connect with creatives of color. I genuinely want to make sure that the work I have is available for as many people to bid on as possible. But also to learn that there are going to be different standards of beauty and all sorts of different things that go into the creative process that come with working with someone from a different perspective. And it sounds like to me that starting the conversation with wherever the entry point is, that there is no magic platform. All Black Creatives is not a magic platform for connecting you with creative. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Right. I hear what you're saying. And like, it's not going to be a magic platform. In this case, it is a really great way and space to be exposed to creatives of color. It's a really great way to do that. Like every post we're going to tag, this is who the photographer was.
Awesome.
This is who the stylist was. This is who the makeup artist was. This is who, like every post has that tag and you can follow that. And so that's even something that we make sure to include to broaden the creatives of color, talking to each other and building projects with each other. But yeah, it is also like a really cool resource too.
And then you have to be intentional about reaching out and building those relationships.
Yeah, you do. You really do.
So it sounds like your company is almost like a trade association where you are supporting Black creatives, uplifting them, like you talk about tagging them so that others in the industry know who they are and how to get in touch with them. What's your vision of your organization?
Yeah, so what's actually really cool about that is that right now we are partnering with Creo, who you guys just had on.
Yes.
We're partnering with them because we want to, just like with the All Black Creatives dinner that we had, and then the show opening that we had the weekend after that in Living Color, where we had hundreds of St. Louis, people come and show up and buy art and meet each other.
That is very cool.
Yeah, I mean, so much art sold. And actually, one artist sold a piece for $1,500. Someone else was like, I can't believe that sold. And then she recommissioned, a piece again for another client.
Where was this held?
This was at Tech Artista. So the first weekend.
If you were on Facebook, you would know these things.
Okay.
Yeah, the first weekend was the dinner. The second weekend was the opening of In Living Color. And it was
very cool.
It was beautiful. It was amazing. So like for us, what we are striving to do with that partnership now, so All Black Creatives has come under Creo as our way to build community and do these experiential like marketing things, just like working with people like a Tech Artista who have this need, where we also have a way to bring all these communities together and to enrich a brand for someone who might be wanting to be like, hey, we don't necessarily know what we're doing like you guys do. You have these relationships. Like, how can we work with you to either bring more people of color into our own company or to become more conscious in our own community? So like we're doing really cool experiential marketing and events and experiences like that. Very
cool.
Yeah.
So are you guys a nonprofit or are you a for-profit organization?
No, so...
No to which one?
Oh, right. No, we're not a nonprofit.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And we're a socially conscious company.
Okay.
And I think that's actually
socially
really
conscious
cool. Yeah.
that's looking to make a profit.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing wrong with making a profit.
Absolutely
Especially
not.
when you go and reinvest it within the communities that you're looking to elevate and celebrate as well.
So we're really excited about that.
That's cool.
Talk to us a little bit more about this idea of experiential marketing and enhancing a brand. Because the other thing, this idea that I was exploring with you around All Black Creatives being sort of a magic key into that. For those folks not connected to communities of color, they're looking for silver bullets, right? They're looking for, if I know Danielle and Danielle knows all these people, well, then once I send an email to Danielle, I will instantly be connected with all of these other people. And exploring that, exploring this conversation about how do you actually get engaged in, if you're using the All Black Creatives platform, you're looking at who's doing what aesthetic you like, who's the artist, who's the stylist, who's the photographer, who's the model. And then you have to go out and build those relationships because Danielle is not your magic key to the universe, even though she's fabulous and wonderful. That's not a fair expectation on her. So then when a company comes to you and says, we really want to work with you because we want to connect with either consumers of color, or we want to work more with creatives of color, or both and. How do you guys engage in that way so that it's authentic for you? It doesn't lend a false sense of credibility to someone else, but also then allows you to be creative and experimental with how you bring people together.
Authentic.
And how do you create a win-win there?
Right. So I like talking about that authentic piece because it's not as if I'm building all black creatives and Darren and me and John are building Creo and we're building all this thing together to solve issues of white supremacy. Or like someone asked me, oh, you started all black creatives, and you know, our bio, I think at that time, was celebrating diversity within black culture. So like, and asked me if I made our bio that name so that white people would see that they're like, would see black people differently, or like, or like that through their lens that I don't even know. And I was like, honestly, all black creatives was not formed with the white gaze in mind in any way. Like, and that's not to say like, I don't mind you loving or experiencing, you know, dope stuff, but like, seriously, it's for that community. And so to have Creo tied with it, where it's like, okay, you as a business want to diversify, you want to either hire people of color, or you want to like create what you know is just going to be a really great experience, and it's going to be well-rounded experience. We love that. We love to be approached in that way. We love to come in and like build something really dope and really cool for you, because it brings us joy, and then it's going to give jobs to our friends and people of color and people who we love, who have amazing skill, who are, you know, doing what they also love. So it's not like it's unapproachable in that way. You know, it's not like it's going to be offensive for a white company or a company that's like not super diverse to come in and ask us, you know, to help, you know, make this better.
It goes back to like what you just talked about, the authenticity of it, right? It's amazing that what you're able to do is provide a larger pool for people to tap into, instead of the same pool of folks that get tapped for creative type of opportunities. So I think you're expanding the knowledge, the lens of folks who traditionally don't get involved or don't connect with our community. So it goes back to, as I always say, inclusion does not mean exclusion. You need everybody around that table in order to make it, and in order to make whatever they're creating more impactful, right?
But I also really appreciate the distinction of all black creatives wasn't created to make it easier for white people to find black creatives, right?
It wasn't.
It was, and like it was not created with the white gaze, with the white need, with the white, with white people in mind. It was really created to elevate and celebrate these artists and connect them and enrich them, and then the fact that you can work with Creo then to also increase more access to this talented pool, because
those are
distinct but complementary.
They're definitely distinct and complementary, because we also like, and this is kind of one of the biggest reasons why we wanted to bring this in with Creo, is because people do and have approached all black creatives and asked, how can, like, are you willing to work with us to help us to, you know, have a more diverse workforce? Are you willing to, you know, work with us to make sure that we're not only sending out white photographers to photograph, you know, our brown and black clients? Like, can you help us not put out the same stuff all the time, you know? And so one of the really beautiful things about having Creo is that all black creatives gets to not only love on these creatives, but also love on them in a way of like, hey, we have this opportunity to like extend this open door.
Absolutely. It's access. You're providing access.
And I think that's really beautiful.
Absolutely.
Like, it's
and
really
some
beautiful.
of the great things that's happening with Creo now, maybe we could talk about that. Maybe Christy could set it up.
I was saying, just perhaps there might be some companies in that pipeline that you guys, I know Darren and John had to keep it real quiet when they were here with us, but you guys are working with some big names right now.
We're working with Instagram right now, actually.
That's a big name. That's not a little bitty company, okay?
They actually reached out to us in February to feature us, you know, during Black History Month. They were like, hey, we want to feature some creators of color, like, reached out to us. The COO actually of Instagram is the one who kind of like featured us, but that was through it's a girl who we met, Siobhan, who works for the company. She's like a 25-year-old Black girl. She's like doing her thing, and she is the reason why Instagram is cognizant that we exist.
Someone's in the room.
Yep, someone's in the room, and she's doing the work. And so, like, you know, she was like, hey, here's this really dope company, we should feature them. And so they featured us, and then from that, they brought us out to like their offices to meet with them and to actually sit down and talk about, you know, some goals that they have and some really cool like stuff that they want to work on. I can't be too specific.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, we love them and they see us and they see what we're doing and they love it. And I think that that's an important distinction too, is not just knowing in the back of your head, hey, there's this thing that we should do, or there's this thing that we, you know, want to work on, but actually taking that next step and maybe fumbling through it a little bit and maybe being like a little bit awkward.
Like
and,
you said, being willing to be in that awkward position.
And it will be. But the fact that they have Siobhan, and when we went to go visit their offices, she was one of the only Black people in that office too. But like going to, you know, meet her and see her and be encouraged that this girl's, you know, 26 and she's, you know, at the head of her department. Forbes just did an article on her. Like, she's great. And so it was inspiring to see her there, and then also encouraging for her to be like, yo, I'm glad that you guys exist and I'm glad that you're doing this too, you know, and just like having that solidarity all the way through is just really beautiful.
And see, for many people who are listening to this, who've been considering, well, should I do this? Should I not do this? Yeah. You are a prime example of 2014, you launched something that's now brought you on the path of connecting with a major company, Instagram here. So for all y'all listening and thinking, I don't know if I want to do this or not,
do it. Get
off the couch, start doing it, right? Because you never know what that path can be for you.
And you guys are also working with local companies on their culture and connecting and companies that have a national reach but are based here in St. Louis who are also, what I hear, beautiful and love a lot in what you're talking about. But I also hear at the core of it is just allowing ourselves to be vulnerable and step into the space where we say, I don't know, I want to do better, and I need your help. And we don't put ourselves in that position very often, certainly not leaders of companies and executives and other folks who basically built their career on having answers even when they didn't.
And what I love about what you guys are doing, coming from a major market, like a larger market, I should say this, from Chicago, when I look on media, it is so different in representation of diversity in that market versus when I come home. And I love the fact that you're working with organizations that are here to say, how can we, you know, look more diverse? How can we include? Because literally I've been here for about 15, 16 years, something like that. And it's interesting when you turn on media and you don't see in commercials, you don't see in local programming, folks that look like us. You know, and that can be women, that can be people of color, that can be immigrant populations. We're not represented. So when you turn on it, and I think that from a mindset from young people, when you start to, but y'all don't watch TV anyway. I know, like my kid is on Netflix and everything else.
When they get the snippet on Instagram,
right?
Basically,
that's been curated.
But if you're here just looking at local, you think we're not represented, and we are, and especially on the creative side. So I am really celebrating that. That is so cool. As y'all say, very dope.
Very dope. One day I'll be able to say dope and I won't look like a dork.
Oh man,
I aspire to that.
I love her husband, who's always like, that is so dope.
Everything's dope. If he thinks I'm dope, I'm good with that, and I will promise never to try and be a dope aspizer.
Oh man.
So thank you so much for being with us here today. If folks want to learn more about All Black Creatives, where should they find you?
Instagram.
Yeah. And so it's all Black Creatives on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you guys can find and follow there and make sure you stay up to date on everything that Danielle is doing, as well as Creo and all Black Creatives and all their partnerships and how they're making the world a better place.
They are doing it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Changing the way you view new ventures, igniting your thinking about entrepreneurship. It's Entrepreneurially Thinking. Get connected and discover more. Visit our website for show notes, resources, information about our guests, upcoming events, and of course, all your favorite episodes. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them for us in the comment sections, and be sure to leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. The best way to show love is to share. Let everybody know that you're thinking entrepreneurially. So visit our website, entrepreneurially-thinking.com. #ETHINKSTL. Entrepreneurially Thinking is another positive production of Rare Gem Productions. Thanks for listening.